Start by going to the Post section and opening the services one by one. You'll notice that each service now has new appointment-related settings. The first thing to set is the price. By default, this will be the price per slot, as defined in the global options during setup. The schedule for each service allows the global settings unless you enable the Use Custom Schedule toggle. When that's turned on, you'll be able to define custom slot timing, work hours, and specific days off or working days unless you previously logged these from changing. You'll also see a field to add related providers in the right panel. This is important to do because while we've already set up relations between specific services and providers when creating posts, those were for creating queries that display related posts on a single service or provider pages. However, JetAppointment needs to know which providers relate to which services for its own internal relations. Now I'll go through each service post, link it to the right provider using this appointment relation field, and set the price, leaving the schedule as is. Now let's take a quick look at what's new in the provider's post type. The relation to services is already set thanks to the updates we made in the services posts. For pricing, I'm keeping the default inherit service price option, so the cost will depend on this selected service, not the provider. Same with the schedule, no custom settings here either. So no further changes are necessary for provider's CPT. Alright, now that the wizard has generated two booking forms, one for a static page and one for single service pages, it's time to review them, make any needed adjustments, and place them on the site. We'll also create a third form manually for single provider pages. Let's start with the static page booking form. Upon reviewing the form, we can see it includes several key blocks: service selection, provider selection, and a date picker. The last two are powered by the JetAppointment specific blocks. The form also has a hidden field to capture the current post ID, a user email field, and a submit button. I'm planning to turn it into a multi-step form and add a few more fields to collect additional users' details. The service selection block can be switched from a drop-down to a radio field, so users can see all available options at once. By default, it pulls values from the titles of the service's post type. To customize how this field looks, we can turn on the Use Custom Template toggle. This lets us replace the standard radio buttons with a more appropriate design. Let's quickly create a new listing for this. Instead of showing only the service title, we'll include the price too, since that data is now stored in a meta field from the JetAppointment setup. To display it dynamically, use the Dynamic Field widget and set the meta field name to this value. You can also use this same field name for showing dynamic data on services single pages. To get more styling control over the field label, I'm using a separate heading widget instead of the default label. The service selector itself should be set as required. Just above it in the setting panel, you'll notice a double arrow button. This enables auto transition to the next form step once a selection is made. For that to work, we need to split the form into steps, so I'll insert a form page break block right after this field and disable the Enable Next button toggle in its settings. Next, let's look at the appointment provider field. Being an appointment-specific block, its settings are a bit different from the service selector. The source for its options is set in the block settings panel on the right. By default, it pulls provider IDs based on the selected service, using that field's name as the reference. We'll enable the custom template option here too and create a new listing for doctors that show their portrait and name. As with the service field, also enable the switch page on change option to allow automatic step transition after selection. This time, before adding another form page break, I'll also add previous page block. The next field to check is the appointment date block. It lets users pick a date and time based on the global availability settings or custom schedules if those are set for the service or provider. Once a selection is made, it also generates combined appointment details, which we'll explore later. In the block settings on the right, you'll see that it pulls service and provider info from the related form fields. No changes are needed here. After this field, I'll insert the next page and previous page navigation blocks, followed by another form page break. The next step of the form will collect user information. I'll insert fields for username and phone number and keep the existing email block here. Again, I'll add the navigation buttons and another form page break block. That was the last form page requiring input from the user. Now I want to display a summary of the appointment and the price before asking the user to confirm the form submission. I'll show the appointment summary using a custom HTML block. The HTML code will include JetForm Builder tags that dynamically display the submitted information from several fields. The price will be displayed in a calculated field. I'll use a macro to show the price linked to the service selected in the appointment date field. I'll also add a prefix with the word total and a $sign to format the output. And that's almost it for this form. I'll just add a final previous step button at the end and apply some stylization using JetStyle Manager. And let's check the form's post-submit actions. By default, the Insert Appointment action is already enabled, and for this site, that's likely all we need. Since advanced workflows can be set globally in JetAppointment settings, it's more efficient to handle them there, especially if all forms follow the same logic. We'll revisit workflows later in the tutorial. Let's click Edit on the Insert Appointment action to see what it does. A pop-up shows the list of appointment fields. Some values like Service ID and Provider ID are required, so the form must include matching fields or submission will fail. You'll also see the current database columns we created earlier, like username and phone number, which can be mapped to the form fields. These, along with any other fields you add, can later be used for things like emails or webhooks. The next form to adjust is the Single Service Booking form. Since it's placed on a specific service's single page, it doesn't need a service selector. The service is already known from the page context. This value should also be used to filter and display only the related providers instead of showing all available ones. To make this work for our site, we'll need to tweak a few settings in the form's configuration. Right now, the Select Provider block gets the service value from the current post ID. Since this form will be placed on a different page with a special URL that includes the post ID of the service page the user came from, we need to connect the field to that URL value instead. For this, adjust the hidden field at the top to use the URL query variable option instead of current post ID, and enter the query variable key that holds the service ID. Then make sure the provider field sources service ID from this hidden field. Next, update the appointment date field to pull data from the correct form fields. Then insert page breaks and navigation buttons, add contact fields, include a summary block if needed, and adjust the styling. Lastly, map form fields to the appointment table data. And now let's move on to creating the final form, the one users see after visiting a doctor's single page. I'll start by duplicating a single page form we already have. In this new version, the hidden field will retain its existing functionality, pulling the value from the URL query variable. Instead of the provider field, we need a service selector. I'll add a select field and set its source to the service's post type. And you know what? No extra filtering is needed. As long as the appointment date block is connected to the hidden field, which holds the doctor post ID, and this service field, it will automatically show only services related to that doctor. That's pretty amazing. I'll continue by styling the form and configuring the post-submit action as we did earlier. Then I'll place the forms where they belong. The static form goes in a pop-up linked to a homepage button, and the two simplified forms will be embedded on the pages linked from the service and doctor single pages.